Hello students, my name is Mr. Lucchi and I am your orchestra teacher. I'm here to invite you to join me next year orchestra program. In orchestra we will have a lot of fun learning how to play this beautiful instrument, and also it's a great opportunity to meet new friends. In orchestra I will be teaching you how to play the double bass, the cello, the viola and the violin. All these instruments belongs to the string family. They all have in common the same shape, and they all are played with a bow that is made with horsehair. This is the voice of the violin, and a tune that could be played on the violin. This is the violin. The next member of the string family is the viola. It's slightly bigger and it has a lower sound. A tune on the viola that you should know, it's this. Imperial March from Star Wars. I'm gonna go down to the next instrument of the string family, and we'll have the cello that you always play sitting down. This is the voice of the cello. And I hope you recognize this tune. Over the rainbow on the cello. The last instrument of the string family, and the biggest one, is the double bass. And you can imagine, being so big, this instrument will also have the lowest sound of all the string instruments. A tune that I could play on the bass. Star Wars. Okay, so here are your orchestra, your string instruments. I hope you will join me next year. We'll have a lot of fun. Thank you. See you soon.
Hello boys and girls, I am Mr. Mueller, and I am here to show you an opportunity that you have going into the next school year. This is a time when you get to learn how to play an instrument. You can learn a woodwind instrument, a brass instrument, or a percussion instrument and study with me, or you can study a string instrument and study with Mr. Lucchi. We would both be happy if you took any one of our instruments. So let me take you on a little adventure, and I'm going to start by showing you the highest instrument of the woodwind family, and that is the flute. The flute is an instrument that you blow air across this hole to make the sound. It looks sort of like this. There it is. And when I blow air across this, it's like blowing across a Coke bottle and making a nice whistling sound. And this is the voice of the flute. And here's a tune on the flute. That song was Morning from Peer Gynt by Edvard Grieg. and you might have heard it on a cartoon or seen it in a movie. The next instrument I'd like to show you from the woodwind family is the clarinet. It looks like this, has holes in it going up and down, and you play it by blowing across this reed. You blow the air in and the reed vibrates, makes the sound. It makes a nice woody sound. Normally clarinets are made out of wood. Student models are usually made out of plastic at first, but they still sound just like a real clarinet. This is the voice of the clarinet. Here's a tune for the clarinet. That was The Saints Go Marching In, the clarinet, boys and girls. Okay, the next instrument I'd like to show you is the saxophone. Now to play this instrument, I'll have to put on a neck strap. The saxophone is another woodwind instrument that isn't made out of wood, it's made out of brass. However, it does have a reed just like the clarinet, and therefore it is a woodwind instrument because it produces sound with wood. Let me give you a demonstration of the sound of the saxophone. And here is a tune that saxophone players in my band often get to play. That tune is called Rock to the Max, Mr. Sax, and maybe if you play really well, you might get to play that in a concert someday. And now I'd like to go to an instrument from another family I teach, the brass family. The next instrument is the trumpet. And the trumpet is a brass instrument. This time you can see it's made out of brass, but what makes the brass instruments unique is how the sound is produced. They use a mouthpiece that looks like a cup like this, and what you do is you buzz your lips together like this, and you buzz into the mouthpiece to produce your sound. And then you buzz into your instrument and it amplifies it and makes it sound a lot nicer than just a duck call. Here's the voice of the trumpet. All right, so here's a tune on the trumpet. You recognize it? It's from a cartoon. It's the Flintstones theme. Okay, here's the next lower instrument in the brass family. It is called the trombone, and it's a very long instrument, kind of a simple instrument too, sort of shaped like a giant paper clip. And if you ask for a trombone in French, they would be confused as to whether you meant paper clip or trombone because it means the same thing. It's an instrument that has only this one moving part called the slide. It makes the instrument longer and shorter. It's fun to play. It has a mouthpiece that's shaped just like a trumpet mouthpiece, but a little bit bigger. And since it's bigger, it's going to play a little bit lower. Just remember, it's the same weight as a trumpet. So if you think it's heavy, this is not a heavy instrument. It's very light. Here's the voice of the trombone. And here's a tune on the trombone. Since we were talking about cartoons, this instrument's perfect for it. That was from Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny. Now for our next brass instrument. This instrument is called the baritone horn. And as you can see, it looks like a tuba. And it is actually a small version of the tuba. We have you play the full-size version, except it's very hard on 4th and 5th graders to play a full-size tuba. It weighs 35 pounds and it is huge and very, very expensive. This instrument you can start out on, and if you like the sound of it, listen to the sound of the baritone horn. And here's the tune on the baritone horn. From The Wizard of Oz, the Scarecrow song, If I Only Had a Brain. The next family of instruments I'd like to show you are the percussion instruments. And we'll start out with the bell set. This is the first instrument that you will learn if you take the percussion instruments. The instrument looks like this. Looks like a piano keyboard, except that you strike them with these mallets. All percussion instruments make their sound by striking, scraping, or somehow hitting something to make the sound. Here is the voice of the bell set. And here's something you might hear on the bells. You might have heard that in The Wizard of Oz. It's when the good witch comes in. And here's a song on the bells that you'll learn early on in your first 3 or 4 months of playing. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, or the ABC song. It's actually used for a lot of songs. The other thing that you'll learn how to play when you're learning percussion is later on you'll start to learn how to play drums, such as this snare drum right here. And at first you'll probably start with a practice pad, but I'm going to start out here by playing a little bit of snare drum for you just so you can hear what it's like. You use sticks like this, and you strike them on the head. And also you can turn on the snares and make this sound. And pretty much you become a rhythm instrument for the band. I can't really play a melody on the snare drum, so I'm not going to. Keep that in mind if you take percussion, that most of the time you won't be playing melody unless you're playing a keyboard percussion instrument. Okay, so that is my story on the family of instruments, and I hope that you'll want to take one of these instruments or one of Mr. Lucchi's instruments.